It takes a real sick MFer to take your kid along to Lowe's when you're buying the tools you need to dismember a body, especially when that body is that child's mother. This is so disturbing. So yesterday was day 6 of the Brian Walshe case. And this is Brian Walshe. He is accused of killing his wife, Anna, in their Massachusetts home in the early morning hours of New Year's Day of 2023. Now, Brian has already pleaded guilty to illegally disposing, or what they call conveying, her body. So he's already admitted that, yep, he went and he bought all these tools. And yes, he took however much time it takes, I have no idea, to slice and mangle and cut and dismember and bag up in garbage bags and then go and dump her in different dumpsters. He's already admitted to that part. But he won't admit to being the one who took her life in the first place, that she died accidentally and suddenly in their bed, and he was so worried he'd be blamed for it that he decided to just get rid of everything, every bit of her. If you're just tuning in, you're probably thinking, wow, that is a wildly irrational reaction to somebody's accidental or sudden death. Oh, I know. Now, I'm not sure what made Brian think that the police would automatically think it was him, unless, of course, he knew about the affair his wife was having, which, according to the defense, Brian never even knew his wife was having an affair. Of course, that wouldn't give him motive to kill his wife because he never knew about the affair. Then why would he go to the lengths to get rid of her? Why would he be so afraid? He's already on house arrest, so I think that's what it is. He's on house arrest for a previous crime that has nothing to do with this. It was an art fraud thing. He's on house arrest for that. What the defense attorney, Larry Tipton, is trying to convince this jury of is because he'd already pleaded guilty to one crime, they would automatically link him to this one. So he did what in his mind seemed normal. He lied to people for 4 days. For 4 days, he covered up this crime, and he spent all of that time going around town buying tools, trash bags, rags, mops, a Tyvek suit, goggles, everything he needed to do this whole dismemberment activity in the family's basement, where they also found blood and tissue, and then proceeded to put her in dumpsters. And it just so happened that many of those dumpsters were picked up and everything inside them was incinerated. So the police really only have one dumpster with some garbage in it to go through. So they found her DNA inside trash bags in this one dumpster, but they don't have an actual body. Everything was incinerated, so they don't have a body to work off of, which makes this case, at least a case for murder, very difficult. Now, in yesterday's testimony, they put up there a doctor named Dr. Richard Atkinson. He is from the medical examiner's office, and he basically testified, to the blood and tissue that was found on some of the rugs. We also know that Brian went and bought replacement rugs at Home Goods that day too, but the rug in question is actually the rug from their living room. So Brian's story is that she suddenly died in their bedroom, and then he took her to the basement to perform these procedures on her body. Why is there blood and tissue on the living room rugs? That's a mystery. Now, we know there was no autopsy performed because there isn't a body. The medical examiner's office can't say exactly why she died. Like, what was the manner of death? What was the cause of death? But then the defense attorney starts pushing him and saying, well, could it possibly have been a pulmonary issue? Could she possibly have choked on a piece of food? Could she possibly have done this? All of those things are possible. It is possible for someone to die of other causes, but without an autopsy, you don't know. And that's where this whole twisted logic is really ridiculous, because if she really had choked on a piece of food, or if she had had some sort of pulmonary embolism or some sort of incident which they're indicating, then an autopsy would have shown us that, and it would have cleared Brian of any charges. So Brian saying, I destroyed everything because I was so afraid you'd blame me. We wouldn't have blamed you, Brian, if we could have done an autopsy and found that your wife choked on a piece of food and it wasn't your fault. So I don't know why his defense attorney is even opening that can of worms, because there is no autopsy because Brian Walshe wouldn't allow there to be. They put two people up on the stand that worked with Anna at Tishman Speyer. One was the HR person, one was the security person. And they talked about the day Brian called them. Now, Brian waited until Wednesday, January 4th, right? Before he called them and said, I haven't seen Anna in a couple of days. Is she there? And they said, well, we'll go to the home, we'll look for her, we'll do these things, right? So as a company, they're like, what do you mean she hasn't been home? She was last seen with you in Cohasset, Massachusetts. She's not here in DC. We've not seen her at work. In fact, the security guy is like, Brian, when we hang up this call, you need to call the Cohasset police and report your wife is missing. Why haven't you done this yet? Like, I think they're just absolutely, like any of us would be, mystified why this guy hasn't done anything to bring the police into the equation. They don't know that he spent 4 days dismembering and hiding her body. But Brian says, don't worry, I'm going to call the minute we hang up. Don't worry, I will. And then Brian never calls the police. Luckily, the security guy, a guy named Hugh from Tishman Speyer, he calls the police. And that is the first the police hear that Anna Walshe might be missing. And they go to the house to do a wellness check. Brian goes, yeah, my wife is missing. It starts this whole missing person misdirection that Brian tries to pull off for a couple of days until police even just barely scratch the surface and realize this guy is full of fucking shit. And we even see all the surveillance video of Brian going to all those different places, him going to CVS, him going to Lowe's. In fact, in Lowe's, he takes his child with him. On video, we see his child on surveillance. He actually goes to one of the self-checkouts, and there's a camera, so we can see he looks at the camera and he's kind of fixing his hair, which, by the way, I've done myself, so that is kind of human. But not when I have a dead body in my home. Shows the kind of the cool, calm, calculating capability of this person, that he coolly like just out shopping like it's no big deal. Luckily, in this case, the Massachusetts State Police checked the home. They're not famous for that. And they found a knife in the kitchen in a cupboard above the refrigerator that also had what looked like blood on it. And they're testing it for DNA. And I'm sure next we're going to hear a bunch of witnesses that talk about all the DNA belonging to Anna. Keep coming back for more.